It's very simple.
Yeah.
As I told you, I used to play for around 15 years in the traditional way. So the instruments we used to play, they were smaller than that. Naturally, the weight was much lighter. See, a traditional veena made from bamboo and with small tumbas could be as light, let's say 2-3 kgs. So you hardly will feel it on the shoulder. So easily you can say it, you can move with it. When I learned to hold it rightly, I mean, I was told, you should be able, without having even the hand over here, just with one arm on the tumba, you should be able to balance the instrument. Now, the moment this instrument was changed, as I told you, under the vision of Ustad Ziauddin Dagar, in collaboration with Murari Babu. So they made this instrument more big, huge, so it became first of all a physical constraint to carry 10 kgs on the shoulder. Beside, certain way, how will you pull the strings and everything. So what Dagar Sahab basically did is to take the South Indian veena position, which is played like that. I use here a little bit some support. It's just, to save my knee from pain. But basically, so this is the position. It is an essential change. What I told you before, being almost, melting one with this instrument, there's a lot of advantages in this. Like my Khansa would always say, this is the only way Rudra Veena can be played. And he was right in certain ways. Because this oneness, unity you have with the instrument, how the instrument speaks to you and how you control it, that is very unique. Now, when you take this type of instrument with this bigger structure, heavier structure, you have the advantage, you get that more sustain, more depth in sound and everything. You have the disadvantage, you can't play it anymore on the shoulder. You have to change to this position. There's, for instance, also our left hand, which is very important for our main Alankar we do is Min, right? So to pull Min and Sur, on the traditional way, we have the sump behind the dant, like a sitar also would do, a Surbaha would do. So you are much easier be able to pull, to have a good control. When you change this position, you can't put the sump anymore behind, you have to play with the wrist. These were, for instance, things when I changed the position also. Finally, for me, the day came when I started to make my own instruments to say, what do you want? Are you valuing this kind of traditional position more than the full sound? Or are you ready to go for a change? Then you get this full sound. So finally, I decided for the full sound, inclusive that I had to relearn how to play in this way. It's not so much of a change, but it is there. It is there. So this is the main reason why we do the change.
So it's basically going for the sound, for the depth of sound.
For the depth of sounds, we have taken the bigger, heavier structure. See, simply this kind of. It was impossible to do something like that with a traditional instrument, and that was one stroke. I can't often, when I was with him in the concert, so I took a bit care of how the sound is picked up and whatever. And then he would continuously ask, more bass, more bass, more bass, because this is what you enjoy, the depths of the sound. But the traditional instrument wouldn't have that. So you pay a price, you get this kind of sound, but the instrument, it's naturally. You see a big opera singer, or even a Hindustani classic, they have to have some resonance body. I mean, a tiny person like me, where will you get that kind of voice from, right? There has to be some. And the same is happening with the instrument. Home, right? And that's again where we come to that point. Every instrument of the Indian classical music comes from this source, having this connection to spirituality. But this is a special one. Here, this aspect of the music is right in front. That is its strength. You will not play it for the fast hayali kind of thing. We do that also. Yes, you have to do it today. If you don't do it, the people will say, oh, it's boring, as I told before. And I like both of these things. Personally, my vision of playing Veena, it has its strengths. You can dive into the deepest ocean kind of what a rag in alap has to provide. But then also you can fly in the fastest kind of sky, really without limits. That's what's happening in the faster kind of art, right? So to have this coming from the depths to the highest, this is what makes Veena playing, in my eyes, in my ears, complete. And this is what I got from my gurus, either from the Dagar tradition or from the traditional Veena playing. And I think this is something which can make the Veena playing interesting also for an audience today. Yes, you have to have a mind for that, otherwise you play sitar. No need then to carry 30 kgs and burden yourself with making the own instrument. It's a bit special. But the audience is growing. And funnily enough, the audience, the attraction for the whole Drupad and for the Veena, it was earlier there in the West. It's now returning somewhat to the East.
Oh.
Yeah, it is there.
So, yeah.
Yeah. See, it's a very natural thing also. Like somebody said once, what was the way he said it, he put it? Yoga had to become yoga to be appreciated in India again. I mean, just playing with that kind of thing that in the West you will all spell the yoga. So all the yoga over there is, and he will rather keep the A away. So whenever it was successful in the West, now in India also, and you have the same way of living, right? So you need some kind of comeback to relax, to basically to recover, to work again, right? So what was the saying behind this? Once it is appreciated abroad, then you start to look in your own country. It's not only happening here, but in the case of that music, it happens very well. See, after the independence, all the classical traditions, they took a strong hit, how to survive. But these Drupad traditions, they were especially hit because those musicians were all under the patronage of some, whatever, Nawabs and the aristocratic rulers there. So from one day to the other, more or less, they stood there and didn't know how to survive, how to feed themselves, to maintain such a teaching of tradition. And so they had really to swim and to struggle, and something survived, something did not survive. And one of the things then, this contact of West in Indian classical music, it has a little bit older strings, but the more popular kind of, it started in the 60s, 50s, 60s. Mm-hmm. It started like when Ali Akbar Khan Saab and Pandit Ravi Shankar, they went to, I think, New York or played there.
West, yeah.
This whole connection with Zero Minuin, the violinist. And from there it took bigger and bigger turns. Now interestingly, like the senior Dagar brothers, who's that Ziauddin Dagar Saab and Aminuddin Dagar Saab, when they came to the West, they were very well received over there. And audience and also musicologists, they took a lot of interest. And that's where it continues. People started to learn. Suddenly you had Drupad festivals, the Drupad Mela like in Varanasi. It's I think now more than 40 years old. And if you go there, you will see 60-70% of the listeners are Western people.
Yes.
Right? So, but from there is where what I'm saying, it takes a sort of revival also in India. But the survival has happened a lot through the interest in the West. Why it is like that is a different question again. To my understanding, the Drupad tradition somewhat represents very much what the Westerns imagine how spiritual, classical, meditative music should be. In some way they can connect to it easier. In some way, maybe they appreciate also the whole character of it more, which is lost over here, which is coming back.
So don't you think of like going back to your Western music again and do something as a kind of new kind of music which comes up from you?
Why? Why would I do that?
The people are doing around. That's what
people are doing, because organizers will ask you, can you not do some kind of fusion, something new? So they haven't understood the old, but they are asking me for something new. If you would have understood the old, you would know it's every time new. See, in the Drupad traditions, even if you take just the pure rag music, just Sangeet, we don't even play much of this mixed kind of rags. Because there's not much necessity, or at least I personally feel it like this, that okay, you play your whatever, Yaman, Bihak, all the essential, Purya, Sri, Marva. For me at least, they are still endless kind of oceans. I have to dive to get what they still have. There's even not a necessity, okay, now I mix it with this, I do like that. No. Every day you can dive again and you will find some new aspect. So why I would go outside from that and try to create some, I don't see a necessity. If there would be a necessity, yeah, sure, I would go for it, but there is none. The only things which I really try to take in, like you have seen, we amplify this instrument here. I try to take whatever knowledge we have, maybe a little bit more advanced technology kind of, to support this instrument. Because as I said before, one of the reasons why it also died out, because it couldn't compete on the stage. You couldn't hear it. When my concept was on the stage and they tried to amplify with these little dynamic microphones mostly used on the Indian stage, horrible. A lot of feedback, then you couldn't hear, and all these kind of things. So these are really advantages, you know, where we can use Western kind of influence in a positive way. And then, I don't know, there might be people trying to do some fusion. I personally don't see a need for that. I'm fulfilled, and you know, it's endless.
You are swimming in it absolutely fine, but I'm saying because of originally, that is the music to start, and that is there within your culture, with your own culture. So
what is my own culture? You ask me today, you know, how much are you German, how much are you Indian? So this is another question. This is a question, you know, it would be for a totally different shooting. How much can somebody being brought up and raised from a different culture adapt to this music? It's a very interesting question.
Exactly.
Because
to say, yeah.
I now consider myself to be in the third or fourth generation of people who are approaching this kind of path. As I said before, maybe it started in the 50s, 60s. Meaning Western people came in as students of classical musicians who didn't just want to listen to it, but they wanted to understand, they want to perform this themselves. Now, it went on in certain levels of, what should I say, dedication and possibilities of people to perform. We had, at least with Ali Akbar moving to San Francisco, having the college there, we have got some able performers of Indian classical music. But the main thing I think has still not happened, that people of Western origin would really started to learn in the young age. That is something, you know, it's again different, like even myself, I came on in the 20s, so you have to struggle up hard to make up this kind of space or years you lost over that. I tell often the people now I'm 47, but in terms of Indian classical music I'm only 27. You're minus 20 years, which I was not in India. Absolutely. Right? So this is all there, but I couldn't even define you. You know, if you would ask me now, how much are you German, how much Indian? I try to take the best of both sides, because by heart I'm certainly more Indian than German. I wouldn't understand the problems happening in Germany right now, the politics and things, so much as I understand the things happening here. Still, what Germany has given me, raising me and making me be able to be stubborn enough and precise enough to produce these Veenas, it wouldn't have happened without that. And this is the best answer I always could find when I ask God, everything I love is here. Why did you put me for 20 years first in another spot of the world? Later I understood, yes, you would have never been so crazy to attain that, to do it, and then to go through with it. It would never have happened. So this was a good thing. This is what I inherit from there, and this is what I use still from it. And maybe one day we give something back. Yeah, it's happening. You know, the people are, of course, very open to listen to it, to get a difference from the life they have attained over there. But that is, as I said, it's not much different in India now. Organizers in Delhi asked me before the concert, okay, you can tell the people it's some music for meditation. I said, okay, do you think it's really necessary? Yeah, he said, it will help them. And it just says, it's the same thing. The people don't have much idea about the music itself, so give them some grip to digest it, right? There's nothing wrong in that. I'm just saying, you know, the parts, it's not more a big question, are you in Germany, are you in India? Not much. In terms of that music, anyway, not. And it is such an old tradition. Always it has to evolve, it has to continue. We try to maintain as much as possible of the valuable old, but then of course, we have to present it in a way that the people can take it today. As much, but of course, again, I wouldn't do any fusion. I don't see a necessity personally. And even suddenly the organizer would start to pay me, who was not paying me before. I would say, okay, don't pay me, but let me please play the Veena as it should be played, to my understanding. Thank you very much.